He whipped his arm back and smashed the barrel of his gun across the clerk's face. The man's legs gave way under the massive shock, and he slumped to the floor, barely conscious, but in blazing pain. Dully, he thought that if that was all he had to take, he might yet escape with his life. The two blacks sprinted out of the store, skirted around it, and then dashed into the anonymous darkness of the nearest backyard. Running like maddened eels, they worked their way to the end of the block, where they had left a car parked in the deep shadows of a driveway. Seconds later, they drove slowly out and turned up the street, one driving and the other holding the paper sack with the money. In one more minute, they were out of the immediate area. The driver began to relax his shoulders a little. "That shithead," he said. "He hit the alarm. I'm going to go back and kill him." His companion said nothing. He was still watching out for cops. When one of the white Pasadena patrol cars went past, he felt a sharp spasm in his stomach, but the police unit didn't U-turn and fall in behind them. When the driver had crossed over the foothill freeway, he began to feel reasonably safe. All the witnesses would be able to tell the pigs was that two blacks dressed in dark clothing had scared the hell out of them. The three honkies would never be able to give a facial description, and the other blacks wouldn't. He was sure of that. He took the Pasadena freeway into Los Angeles, knowing that as soon as he reached the South Central area, it would be all their way. They had money now, and the honky that had hit the alarm was going to suffer for weeks for trying to do in a brother. The first unit to respond pulled up with a screech. Two patrol officers jumped out, while one of them crouched behind the engine hood, covering the front doorway. His partner, shotgun in hand, raced for the back. A second unit was right behind. The two patrolmen in it swiftly took up positions on each side of the doorway. Then, covered by the officer who was shielded by his car, they went in, ready for instant action. Within 5 seconds, they knew that the bandits had fled. A swift interrogation of the customer nearest the doorway yielded a minimal description of the suspects. As other units began to saturate the area, one of the officers inside took his portable radio from his Sam Browne belt and put the information on the air. According to the witness, the suspects were last seen running around behind the store less than 2 minutes ago. The field sergeant arrived and took command. Overhead, the bright light from the helicopter moved from backyard to backyard, illuminating the area and making the ground search vastly easier. A paramedic unit pulled up, and the two men in it ran inside with their equipment, while other patrol units set up an outer perimeter looking for a vehicle, no description, containing two male Negroes, 18 to 25 years old, and wearing dark clothing. The paramedics carefully loaded the injured clerk onto a gurney and sped away with him toward Huntington Memorial Hospital. The field sergeant put out a code 4, advising that no more help was needed at the scene. By the time 10 minutes had passed since the first alarm, it was evident that the two bandits had made their escape, at least temporarily. The sergeant called the witnesses together, apologized for detaining them, and delegated 4 of the officers on the scene to begin taking statements. Before that could begin, 2 middle-aged women, one white and the other black, gestured to him. They agreed completely on what they had to say. While one of the robbers held a gun on the clerk, the other threatened the customers with a large handgun. As he herded them toward one side of the small store, he walked backward, slipped on something, and recovered his balance by snapping his left hand against the corner of a glass-topped showcase. They thought there might be fingerprints. The sergeant acted on that immediately. He directed one of the agents on the scene to dust the corner of the case at once. The results were positive. A good set of prints was lifted by means of cellophane tape. That didn't make an identification certain, but it could be a great help. The chances were excellent that the suspect in question had been in custody, and his prints would be on file. The new computer techniques for matching up prints, while not yet perfected, enormously speeded up the process, especially when a partial description of the suspect was available. Lieutenant Dick Smith arrived on the scene to survey their progress. A house-to-house canvass was already going on. The occupants of every lighted home in the immediate area were being systematically interviewed to find out if they had seen or heard anything the least bit out of the ordinary. Because 4 dogs had barked when they normally would not have done so, and because one young man had been putting his bicycle into the garage at just the right time, the path that the bandits had taken on foot was retraced. 1 yard had been freshly watered, and it yielded up several usable footprints. By that time, the approximate location where the bandits' car had been hidden was known. Officer Bob Watson was among those who were taking part in the investigation. Surveying the scene carefully, he determined the 3 or 4 most likely places where the car could have been left. He rang 3 doorbells and conducted 3 interviews without success. But he knew that police work, like the mills of the gods, consisted of grinding exceedingly fine.